friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 14th of May and we are going to cover three very important topics which are in news. The Speaker's acceptance of MLA's resignation. Now, this case has come from the hilly state of Himachal Pradesh. The case is elections for Rajya Sabha. Now, elections for Rajya Sabha happened in February, where six Congress MLAs, which is in power in Himachal Pradesh, defected from voting and voted for the BJP candidate. Well, they have been disqualified. And three independent candidates also voted for the BJP candidate. These three independent candidates submitted their resignation to the Speaker, and the Speaker has denied to accept their resignation, citing that it is not voluntary in nature. Well, the Speaker can do. The Speaker issued them show cause notice, and they have contested that show cause notice in the Himachal High Court. The Himachal High Court, a two-judge bench, gave a split verdict stating that Speaker has we cannot interfere in Speaker's prerogatives or powers. The other judge has said that the Speaker should be telling them in a time-bound manner whether their resignation will be accepted or not. Second is ISRO tests 3D printed rocket engine. Now, this 3D printing is done after putting layer by layer, layer by layer, layer by layer. You can print any object with 3D printing techniques. 3D printing techniques have reduced the requirement for spare parts, have reduced the construction time, the cost, and has made production more efficient. Now, ISRO testing the fourth stage of the engine, that is PS4, it is named as, and it was a successful test, clearly highlights the future for ISRO, that in future ISRO can use 3D printed objects to reduce its cost further. Next is ASEAN India Trade in Goods Agreement. It is also called as ASEAN India Free Trade Agreement in Goods. It was signed in 2009, adopted in 2010, and now we are looking to further streamline it to make it more facilitative. Total trade between India and ASEAN today stands at around $122 billion, with trade deficit for India. So another aim of streamlining this free trade agreement is reducing the trade deficit for India. ASEAN is an important, I would say a very important trade bloc in Southeast Asia, comprising of 10 countries. We share this Act East policy also with this region, where we need to integrate economically, culturally, and strategically. So let's get started and look into these three topics. First is Speaker's acceptance of MLA resignation. Now, MLAs submit their resignation to the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of that day, of that state. Similarly, in the center, the MPs submit their resignations to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, and in case of Rajya Sabha, to the Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Now, this division bench of Himachal Pradesh High Court has said that it has given a split verdict on the issue whether it can direct the Speaker to accept the resignation within a specific time frame, or it should not interfere in Speaker's powers. The Chief Justice of Himachal Pradesh High Court has clearly stated that we should not be interfering in the I would say Speaker's powers. He clearly said that you know uh, it would be equivalent to judiciary interfering in the legislature. Whereas on the other hand, the other judge on the bench stated that the Speaker should be taking action, whether accepting the resignation or rejecting the resignation within a particular time frame, so that you know further legislative works do not get stalled. Both these judges have taken references of the previous cases, either in the Supreme Court or in other high courts. So this is basically the case. Now the split verdict is there. The ultimate, I would say, solution is that this will go to a larger bench of that high court. Let the larger bench decide. But important for us is to know the case, that what is the case. Now in February there were elections to the Rajya Sabha from Himachal Pradesh. We covered that topic. Now, in that election, there were two candidates, Harsh Mahajan from the BJP and Abhishek Manu Singhvi, a senior lawyer from the Congress. Now, the six Congress MLAs rebelled and switched sides in the final moments They had to vote for this person, but they voted for this person. Three independent MLAs also, Hoshiar Singh, KL Thakur, and Ashish Sharma, they voted for this. They supported BJP candidate, and it is also known that they have joined this political party, or they showed their aspirations of joining this political party, BJP. And if they have to submit their resignation. They supported the BJP candidate. After this, they joined the BJP. They submitted their resignation to the speaker. The speaker issued a show cause notice to these three people. Now, this show cause notice has been contested by these MLAs in the High Court, stating that we were not worthy, or we were not eligible, or this show cause notice should not have been issued to us. Our resignation should have been accepted right away. But the speaker did not accept their resignation right away, believing that their resignation was not voluntary in nature. What does the law say actually? Is the speaker allowed to, reject the resignation? So Article 193B of the Constitution states that seat will become vacant if an MLA submits their resignation to the speaker and it is accepted. Article also allows the speaker to conduct an inquiry and refuse to accept a resignation unless they are satisfied that it is voluntary or genuine. So, Article 190, Clause 3, Clause B clearly states that if the speaker is not satisfied that this resignation is voluntary or genuine, the speaker can reject that resignation. So, they are written in the Constitution. Rule 287 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in Himachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly, so that Legislative Assembly also has its own rules, provides guardrails for the Speaker's powers. If the letter of resignation is personally handed over to the Speaker, as it was in the case, and the members inform the Speaker that the resignation was voluntary and genuine, Rule 287 states that the Speaker may accept the resignation immediately. But if the Speaker is not satisfied that the resignation is voluntary or genuine, she is allowed to not accept the resignation. So she can refuse the resignation. Now, Chief Justice Rao, the two judges, he said that we should not interfere in the state government's affairs, and cited this case Pratap Gowda Patil versus State of Karnataka in 2019, where the Supreme Court explicitly refused to give a time frame for Speaker to deal with the resignations of 15 members of Karnataka Assembly. So it depended on the Speaker. Whereas on the other hand, Justice Dua said that the court could direct Speaker to arrive at a prompt decision if she takes an unreasonable amount of time to exercise her powers and duties. She took reference of Rajendra Singh Rana versus Swami Prasad Maurya 2007 case, where the court disqualified 13 BSP MLAs after holding that the Speaker of the Uttar Pradesh Assembly had failed to decide disqualification petitions against the MLAs within stipulated time. So Justice Dua was of this viewpoint that the decision by the Speaker should be taken in a time bound manner, if and the courts can intervene if the speaker is taking undue time. Whereas on the other hand, Chief Justice Rao took reference of Pratap Gowda Patil versus State of Karnataka case very recently in 2019, and said that time frame for the speaker to deal with this is not bound. In that case, the court held that. Now what will happen? Since that it is a split verdict, it will go to a higher bench. As simple as that. So this let the higher bench decide. Next is ISRO tests 3D printed rocket engine. Now, ISRO on May 9 successfully tested this liquid rocket engine made with the help of additive manufacturing technology, commonly known as 3D printing. The engine, which is called as PS4, which is used as the engine for the fourth stage of PSLV, that is Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, was redesigned by ISRO for production using 3D printing. Now, fourth stage generally carries the liquid fuel and it burns in the end, in the last. And, you know, that particular engine is 3D printed. So what is 3D printing? It is a process that uses computer created design. So we first create the design on a laptop or computers, and then we have to connect our computer to that 3D printing machine. Just click on print and it will be printed. Yes, it is that easy as you are listening it to be. But obviously, a lot of, I would say, hard work has gone behind that. A lot of technology has been gone behind that. It is basically printing three-dimensional objects layer by layer. It is an additive process. Additive process means one layer is created, then another layer is added, then the next layer is added, then the next layer is added. This is how it goes. In which layers of the material like plastic, composites, or biomaterials are built up to the construction objects that range in shape, size, rigidity, and color. How is 3D printing done? To carry out 3D printing, one needs a personal computer connected to a 3D printer. All they need to do is design a 3D model of the required object on the CAD, that is computer aided design software, and press print. The 3D printers construct the desired object by using a layering method. Layering method, I said, one layer, then another layer on top of that, then another layer on top of that, and which is completely opposite of the subtractive manufacturing process. Subtracting manufacturing process is you are given a one block, and on that one block you are doing the carving and taking out a 3D object. Now we have equated this to the great sculptor Michelangelo making his masterpiece sculpture David. He famously carved out the colossal statue from one single block of marble. So that is called as a subtractive method, because we are subtracting, you are carving out or you are removing the material from that one block to make out a 3D object. It 3D printing is an additive process in which you are adding layer by layer, layer by layer, layer by layer. So this is the opposite of subtractive method. Even the Taj Mahal is believed to be carved out using the subtractive method. It is believed that it was one single block of marble which was carved out into this. Why did ISRO adopt 3D printing? The technology helped ISRO bring down the number of parts in the engine from 14 to a single piece. The space agency was able to eliminate 19 weld joints and saved 97% of raw material. So this is actually saving a lot of cost. It also reduced the overall production time by 60%. This is saving time. So cost is saved, time is saved, materials are number of parts are saved. So that is one. And now the last piece of news, that is ASEAN India Trade in Goods Agreement. Now, this ASEAN India Trade in Goods Agreement is basically a free trade agreement. Free trade agreement is where the tariff barriers are removed. Tariffs are either lowered or they are made zero. Why they are lowered or why they are made zero? To make the trade more competitive. So, this free trade agreement was signed in 2009, and this was basically the free trade agreement in goods known as AITIGA, ASEAN India Trade in Goods Agreement. It was signed in 2009, adopted since 2010. It has been going on and it has impacted positively both the blocks. The trade has gone up. When I say that it has impacted positively, the trade has gone up, doesn't mean that all is good over here. There are certain shortcomings. Shortcomings like, for example, the trade deficit for India is widening, means India's imports are not, India's imports are more as compared to India's exports to ASEAN. And this gap, this deficit is rising. So we need to address that in order to make the trade more sustainable. Second is that, you know, this free trade agreement is being, I would say, taken undue advantage of by China. See, we don't have a free trade agreement with China or any kind of trade agreement with China, due to which when the Chinese goods enter into our country, we can levy import duty on that. We can levy tariffs on them. We have that right since we do not have any agreement with them. But what if the Chinese, they send their goods to ASEAN region and from there they are coming to India? Then those goods will be eligible for reduced tariff or zero tariff, because we have a free trade agreement with ASEAN. And this is China. This is what China has been doing. China knows that we have a free trade agreement with ASEAN. China tries to flout it or violate it or take undue advantage of it. So what we are doing is now we are discussing with the ASEAN bloc that we need to keep the free trade agreement. We need to more streamline it. We need to streamline it so that it can be more facilitative, so that it can be mutually more beneficial, so that it can accommodate one principle, that is rules of origin. Wherever the product has originated, we will be applying rules to that product, similarly, the rules we apply to all other products from that country. So, if we adopt rules of origin over here in ASEAN India Free Trade Agreement, then we can, charge import duties on products coming from China via ASEAN. If this I would say, this rules of origin clause comes into existence. And for discussing all this to make this particular trade agreement more facilitative and streamlined, the fourth joint committee meeting for review of AITIGA has happened or was conducted in Putrajaya, Malaysia. Delegates from India and all 10 ASEAN countries attended the meeting. This is what it was. The purpose of AITIGA, this review meeting, is to make it more trade facilitative and beneficial for businesses across the region. Aim is to modernize the pact. Trade deficit for India is high. To address that, trade deficit in 2009, 7.5 billion USD. Trade deficit in 2023, FY23 is 2022-23, $43.57 billion. So this was such high. To incorporate rules of origin, I've explained what rules of origin are. So 2009, the trade agreement was not signed, and there the trade deficit was this. And here we have signed the trade agreement, and the trade deficit has increased to this. Okay. This particular committee has met 4 times till now. This was the fourth meeting. The fifth meeting is also scheduled. Now, about ASEAN India trade, if I talk about, ASEAN is one of the major trading partners of India with share of 11% in India's global trade. Bilateral trade, $122.67 billion in 2023-24. Upgradation of AITIGA will further boost bilateral trade. That is why they are looking to review it. 4 meetings have happened. Both sides would meet for the fifth joint committee meeting from 29 to 31 July 2024 in Jakarta, Indonesia. And it is expected that in this meeting, this pact will be finalized and or more streamlining will be done. And the new rules or the new, I would say, trade pact will be there into picture. Just a brief about ASEAN also, we should know that this grouping was formed in the year 1967 by Thailand, Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So these are known to be the founding members of ASEAN. Aim is promoting the socio-economic growth, political stability of individual countries, and regional stability among the members. This is basically the aim. Headquarters is in Jakarta. And dialogue partners means those countries who participate in the dialogues that happen: China, India, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, Russia, and USA. And these countries, these 8 countries plus ASEAN, are also known as the East Asia Summit, EAS. So these are the 10 countries you can see over here in the ASEAN grouping. And this is all Southeast Asia. ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So this is basically about ASEAN grouping. Now we come to the MCQs. Consider the following statements and mark the correct one. The MLAs have to submit their resignations to the Speaker of the Assembly. The Speaker cannot reject the resignation and has to accept it under any circumstances. Which of the following statements are true? So only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Who among the following are part of electorate that participate in elections for the members of Rajya Sabha? Members of Lok Sabha, members of legislative assemblies of all states except Delhi and Puducherry, members of legislative assemblies of all states including Delhi and Puducherry, members of legislative councils. So only 1 and 3, only 2, only 3, only 3 and 4. This question is tricky, not discussed per se in the video, but this should be known to you by all. It is somewhat related with the topics which we were doing. Which of the following are the benefits of 3D printing for ISRO, where it has recently manufactured a rocket engine? First is the space agency was able to save raw material. It also reduced the overall production time by 60%. Manufacturing time was reduced. So, among these three, which statements do you feel that, were there? So only 1 and 2, 2 and 3 only, 1 only, or all of the above? Now, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. India and ASEAN signed a free trade agreement for goods and services in 2009 and became effective since 2010. Signing of this FTA has led to trade deficit for India. So, this among these two statements, which one is correct? You have to answer. And consider the following countries and mark which one of the following is not part of ASEAN. So Singapore, South Korea, Brunei, and Myanmar. Among these four, which one is not part of ASEAN? This is very simple. And with this, we come to an end of today's session. I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.